The Morning Sports Desk, available on demand on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts, and WadenaRadio.com.
It is the Morning Sports Desk, another state tournament special, a prep bowl special, if you will. I'm CJ Baumgartner, joined by voice of the Staples-Motley Cardinals, Tyler Grunewald. Tyler, back at it again. It felt like it was just a week ago we were talking about a little state semifinal action.
Yeah, it was just a week ago. It's been an exciting week here in Staples as the Staples and Motley communities have been preparing with, I've seen Fear the Flock shirts are going on throughout the communities, and they've had a red out day, a white out day, and a black out day at the school, and they're really fired up for this Friday, that's for sure.
As they should be. These don't come around very often, and seeing the communities, I know businesses are putting the signs up. Everybody's getting ready. It feels like that whole Staples and Motley towns are just going to be shut down. So if you want to get a Tower Pizza, that's maybe your day to do it, because there's going to be nobody waiting in front of you for that game. But a lot of stuff going on, Tyler. First of all, let's just start back and let's recap that Chatfield game. I mean, from calling it beginning to end, we knew it was going to be a slugfest. I don't think we thought maybe as many points were going to be scored as there were, but what was your make out of that game?
Well, the game started off so fast with Staples-Motley really jumping ahead on Chatfield. They took possession of the football, drove it down the field, was able to get in the end zone, and then they shut down Chatfield on a 4th down and short on their side of the field and flipped it and turned that into 8 more points to go up 16-0. I think that was really huge for the Cardinals, not only just in terms of scoring points, but just stealing that momentum of the game really away. And they kind of got to play it from ahead, and it's a lot easier playing from ahead than trying to come from behind, as the Cardinals found out the previous week against Barnesville. But Chatfield didn't go away. They kept coming back throughout that first half, and that first half really was more like a track meet than anything, is both teams were able to score at will against each other. But then that second half came around, and Zeke made the comment at halftime that the adjustments are going to have to be made on the defensive side, and they definitely were. And it showed, as there was only one touchdown score between both teams in the second half, and then Chatfield not even scoring on offense at all, only getting 2 points on the punt, the snap that went over the head of punter Alex Schultz.
Which felt intentional, by the way. Staples-Motley gave them those 2 points. So that should be mentioned too. Yeah, I mean, the defensive adjustments, I remember you just being on the field, you sometimes get to hear things. And I remember being where I was on the field, I could hear a little bit of Coach Potter's message to the team, and, saying a lot of things like, hey, our offense is doing great. Let's just keep doing what we're doing. Let's keep chugging along. And he also mentioned just some adjustments that they were doing on defense and some things that they needed to get done to stop things that they do well. And they were able to do it. This team was able to rally. It was really fun to be able to watch. I think the thing that's helped Staples-Motley the most, Tyler, and you can either push back or agree with this, is it feels like they've gotten teams to play their style of football, right? Staples-Motley is a team that likes to throw. They like to score points. They like to get their athletes out in space. And it's felt like they have avoided, and, again, I don't know what every team does for Chatfield, Barnesville, some of these other teams. Some teams, especially in A and AA, really like to get you down in the mud. They really like to bring you down to their level. They want to grind you to dust. They want to do all that stuff. They want to make you play a 12-6 game. And Staples-Motley, throughout the entire section and state tournament run, has said, no, we're going to play, for lack of a better term, a track meet. And they've gotten every team to play their game instead of the other way around.
Yeah, coming into last Friday's game, Chatfield was rushing at 90% of the time at that kind of a clip. And then all of a sudden, Chatfield started throwing the ball a lot, and it caught Staples-Motley really off guard, I think, in that first half. But with those bubble screens and trying to make those adjustments, as they were really focused in on the run. But as they did make those adjustments, you could kind of see why Chatfield didn't throw it as much during the regular season, because as the second half rolled around, you could really see that that kind of game wasn't there. They were playing in the Cardinals' hands, so to speak, as they were really starting to throw, trying to play catch up the entire game. And that might have had something to do with why it was so important that Staples-Motley was up 16-0, making Chatfield have to throw the ball, or feeling like they had to throw the ball at that time in the game as well. So it was it's been really incredible to watch Staples-Motley really not change game plans or like how they're maybe the players who's touching the ball might be changing, but the plays are pretty much the same, and you get to see how effective they are now on the big stage.
Yeah, and this is something we talked about on the Sports Desk episode for Monday, but I want to hear your opinion. Obviously, Staples-Motley has some great athletes. They have guys that can move in space and break tackles, and we've talked about those guys all season long. The thing I thought really stood out in that game was Staples-Motley, Chatfield, those two teams met in the wrestling state championship for Class A year ago. Obviously, these are two schools that feature a lot of tough kids, strong kids, all that good stuff. Staples-Motley's offensive line did such a good job. I mean, Rutten just had pockets to throw out of. Everybody was able to make their routes, run their routes. It didn't feel like there was any urgency. And it all was set up from the guys up front. The running game got the things they needed to do because they weren't touched for the first couple of yards. I mean, what did you see in that offensive line that really set up Staples-Motley?
I mean, the offensive line's been terrific all season long, and they haven't had any injuries, and that's kind of really been key, is they haven't had to have any really communication issues because it's been the same front line, front six really, because when you put like Luke Bjerga in that backfield, then you have that next lineman, Adrian Gomez, come in and fill in, and you can't tell who's in and who's out because it's just keep chugging along, keep giving that push, getting that line up there, but then you have to give a lot of credit to the Dustin Converses, the Jacob Beckers, the Stephen Petriches of the world. Those guys are down and dirty in that trench for 60 minutes, or not 48 minutes, excuse me. And they get after it. And it's a testament to how much strength and conditioning they did in the off season, because to stay healthy all throughout the entire season, playing on the line, it really is a testament to what this offseason conditioning training program that the Cardinals have implemented has really paid off.
All right, big question for you, Tyler. I asked Zeke this on Monday. What moment did you realize Staples-Motley was going to a prep bowl?
I was still nervous after the safety, to be honest. I was still nervous that, anything can happen. You can have one big play. So until Eli Rutten faked out the world, except for me, I felt like he still had the ball as he ran it on that keeper to the right side, off the right side of the line. And when he finally slid down, I felt, okay, we got it. It's in the bag. We're coming back next Friday, back to the prep bowl. It's going to be great.
Yeah, there's an interesting bit from Coach Potter that's going to come up later in this preview that he talks about that play and calling it and all that, and it's great. So people listening, keep waiting for that. He's got a great answer on that. So yeah, I mean, Zeke said the exact same thing, by the way. He didn't believe it until he slid down. Then it's like, okay, they have no timeouts. Like it's done. There's nothing that can happen as long as they get this snap off, and even then. But yeah, it's huge. And for them to go to a prep bowl, we've talked about it before. So and I'm sure everybody in the Staples-Motley, whether it's coaches, players, whatever, is getting sick of hearing this, but it's just so remarkable that they've come from not winning a game 2 years ago to now being in a prep bowl. And just, I know we asked this last week, but now it's gotten even more importance because they're going to a freaking prep bowl that's so awesome. They didn't win a game 2 years ago. Those same group of kids had the mental fortitude to stick with it, stick with football, keep improving, and get better and be to this spot. How awesome has that been? What does that say about those group of kids and those coaches and the families?
It really shows their mentality and their fortitude. They're just a stand-up team. You can just tell there's a brotherhood amongst the boys or men, the young men and the coaching staff. You can just tell it when you talk to them, when you see how they interact with each other on the field, off the field, in coaches meetings and stuff like that. There's no horsing around, they're paying attention, but they're having fun too. And they don't want this to stop. Unfortunately, it will be over one way or the other on Friday, but it's just been a great group to be around. And the camaraderie amongst the group, to come from 0 wins 2 years ago and to really turn this whole program around last year, and to just how they've advanced even further this year and how they've grown. And these seniors are just a special class, but this junior class is also something special. And there's not a lot of freshmen and sophomores that are getting a lot of playing time because of, fortunately for Staples-Motley at this point, because they have so many juniors and seniors. But I had the opportunity to coach those freshmen and sophomores when they were in junior high 2 years ago, and they're a heck of a group of kids too. So the future is still going to be bright for these Cardinals. That's for sure.
I don't want to put you on the spot, and I know that the game still needs to happen, but if Staples-Motley is the Prep Bowl champions in 2024, are you going to like push Coach Potter to get you a ring with that? Or since you already had one from your high school days, are you like, I don't need it? But I mean, you kind of want it, right?
Well, we never got a ring in high school. We were runner-ups. So we were the runner-up in 2001. So we did get in the Hall of Fame this year, but no, we were runner-up. So yeah, if they win a championship, I'll definitely be broaching the subject. If he won't get it for me, I'll ask how can I get one myself, because it's truly once in a lifetime type of a moment. I mean, this community hasn't seen this kind of success since 1988. I was 5 years old. I'm dating myself here. Were you even born yet, CJ?
No, I was
okay.
A twinkle in my dad's eye.
See, there we go. So that's just shows how important this really is to these communities, because they're just soaking it up, and they're trying to just soak every moment up. You just see it on social media, and the Fear the Flock will definitely be going loud and strong on Friday in the Dome, trying to do the whiteout as the away team.
Mm-hmm. You might as well, if the kids are going to wear white, you might as well wear white as well. It's going to be awesome. Looking forward to seeing that. One last thing, and we'll let you get out of here, Tyler. You got to call a game at US Bank Stadium. Obviously, you did the play-by-play, you and Zeke. You guys did a great job. And we've gotten just the amount of love that we've gotten from the community has been awesome. People reaching out, sending emails. It's been awesome. It's well-deserved. You do a good job, Tyler. Zeke has done a good job hopping on. But you got to call a game at an NFL stadium. Has that been lost on you? Have you been kind of thinking about that?
That moment never was lost on me for 1 second. Leading up to it, being there, being up in the press box, sitting next to seeing guys like Patrick Royce. I mean, guys that I read when I was in high school and followed and listened on the radio for many years. Just to be there around in that atmosphere. I mean, I was taking photos and selfies and sending it to mom and dad and grandpa and grandma and saying, look, I did something good, Ma, right? So, yeah, it was not lost on me, and definitely will not be lost on me this Friday for the Prep Bowl, as it really will be something special for me returning to a Prep Bowl. I haven't been to a Prep Bowl since I played in one in 2001. So I'm going to enjoy every moment, that's for sure.
It is going to be a 3:30 pregame, 4 o'clock kickoff on the Superstation K106 on KNSP The Fan 98.5 FM. Also streaming online at WadenaRadio.com. Voice of the Cardinals, Tyler Grunewald, his third year, and you know what they say, third time's the charm. You might as well get that state tournament, state Prep Bowl championship. You might as well get it while you're there. Tyler, have a great call, and we'll see you down there, man.
Thanks, CJ. I'm looking forward to it. Go Cards.
All right, Coach, Prep Bowl, how awesome is this feeling?
It's phenomenal. We're just trying to enjoy every moment. This journey's been incredible, and it just doesn't seem, it honestly doesn't seem true, and we're enjoying it, and we're not done yet.
What was the moment when it hit you in that game against Chatfield that you guys were going to win and go on to the first Prep Bowl in school history since 1988?
Yeah, until it's done, I don't like to count my chickens, but when we did the, and I got to give a shout out to Coach Lawrence. He told me, what about that 21 King Keep? We haven't ran that. You know, but I'm like, that play never works. It's not going to work, but I decided to run it, and we ran it, and we iced the game with it. We got the first down. At that point, I knew they only had one timeout, and I knew we could run out the clock in victory, but it wasn't until he went down on that play that I knew.
And, for somebody, it's been talked about, obviously, I'm sure you're probably getting sick of talking about it by now, but you went winless in your first year here and had a lot of young kids and knew that there was a good future. If you can get everybody to stick it out and do the things they needed to do, how much does it say about the program that you guys were able to kind of take that team and mold them up? Because it's not always easy to go through that development.
No, it's not. I've been a part of trying to build programs in the past, and it's extremely difficult to do. It takes a lot of components. With the community, parents, the athletes, and their drive and determination. And it takes just a special group of kids, like our juniors and seniors, to change things. And the juniors and seniors the 2 years before that kept playing football and helped us with their age and leadership, helped us get here as well.
And, as you guys get ready for this game against Jackson County Central, how different is it going to be going back to US Bank Stadium now that you've been there before? You kind of know the process. You know how to walk your way through the tunnel. You know where the bathroom is. I mean, how easy is it now that, you just have a little more comfortability at a place that big?
Yeah, I wonder. It'll be interesting to see if the nerves were as high. I don't know if any of our kids or myself had ever been so nervous just in that situation and trying to channel that. I think some of that will be gone, in that we've been there, we have the experience, but this is a state championship football game, and so that'll be a little different element.
What do you know about Jackson County Central? What's it going to take to get a win?
They are an undefeated football team, and so obviously they're very good. They've blown out every team they've played except for their last game against Kimball area, so they are a very powerful, dominant team. They can run the ball, and they do some passing as well that they're effective with, and so defensively, they just play really solid. They don't miss a lot of tackles. They get off the ball offense and defensively really low. And so we'll have to match their pad level to be successful.
You guys have a lot of great athletes. It's been talked about all season long, and they have been great. I thought in that game last Friday, that offensive line did such a good job getting clean pockets and setting things up. How big were they in that game, especially against some of the teams on the biggest stage?
Well, yeah, obviously our skill guys have done phenomenal, and they've gotten the credit that they've deserved. The offensive lineman is obviously sometimes a position that doesn't get a lot of credit. You don't always see the great things that they do inside there, but our running backs, our quarterback, our receivers will tell you, without them, we would not be anywhere close to where we're at. But, playing left tackle for us, Stephen Petrich, he's dominant. At left guard, we rotate in Luke Birga and Drake Dukowitz, and they do a great job. At center, Dustin Converse has been a solid pillar and executes his block repeatedly. A right guard, Riley Reese, comes in undersized, started playing line this year, and he's been great for us at right guard, executes extremely well. And Jacob Becker's the backer smasher, and he gets off to linebackers. He blocks down really, really well, and he did a good job against a very good pass rusher last week. For us. So that offensive line is phenomenal, every one of them.
And now as you get ready for this prep bowl game, what's the community reaction been like? I mean, this town, Staples and Motley, have been rabid about Cardinal football the last few weeks, especially with everything going on. How fun has it been just walking around town?
Oh, it's been great. The kids feel like they're celebrities. There's interviews, and they deserve some of this, and I think that they're going to enjoy it, but still be focused on the number one task, which is playing in a state championship.
And last question for you here. I know you don't want to think this far ahead, but just how amazing would it be to hear the words Staples-Motley Cardinals 2024 Prep Bowl champions?
I like the sound of that. That would be either way, it's going to be amazing. But, and I told the guys this, second place is a great, great accomplishment. But there's a big difference between first and second place. There's a big difference between champion and runner-up. Runner-up means we were a very, very good football team. You win it all, you're great, you go down in history, and you can always call yourself a state champion. And so it's going to be great either way, but a state championship would be a dream come true.
First state championship appearance since 1988. Just how much is this mean just for the legacy of Cardinal football to have a year like this? It's huge for our program. It should get easier from here on now that we've had these juniors and seniors
paved the way. We've got some really good athletes and committed athletes coming up through. And so I think it's going to help build our program, and hopefully we can perennially be a power.
All right, best of luck, Coach. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Prep Bowl, can you guys believe it?
I mean, it's hard to believe. We worked so hard for it our whole high school career. Feels great.
At any point this year, I know you guys had great expectations and you guys knew you guys could go far, but getting to a Prep Bowl, was that something you guys realistically thought you could do?
I thought we could, but I knew it would take a lot, and we did a lot.
What has this meant to you guys? Obviously, as a senior, a couple of years ago, you guys didn't win a game, and now you guys are undefeated, going to a state championship. Talk about just what this team is like, staying together from that year into last year where you guys had a great year, and to now.
Yeah, in my 10th grade year, it was hard going 0-9, but we knew we could be good. We had a lot of good athletes and everything, and we just kept at it, kept doing what coaches asked, go to the weight room, do everything, and it led us here.
What do you think is one of the biggest reasons why you guys are able to go to a state championship this year?
The commitment we've all had to the team.
And, what is some of the things that you feel like in your game personally you take pride in?
Like sportsmanship, I'd say.
When you're out in the field, in a game, is it your technique? Is it your ability to get to a ball? Is it your ability to block? What would you say, when you're in the middle of a game, what's one of the things you do really well?
Blocking and tackling.
And, what's one of your favorite moments throughout the season? I know obviously there's a lot of them, but is there a moment, a play, a practice, is something you can track down as something you'll always remember?
I think the celebration after Osakas, that's everything we worked for, and it was awesome.
How different is it going to be? I know you guys went to US Bank Stadium last week, and that's crazy and it's fun, and now you get to do it again, but how different is it going to be knowing that, we've already been there, we've already done it once, and now it's just kind of a business trip?
I think it'll be good. All the jitters are going to be gone. It's just going to be straight business.
What do you know about Jackson County Central? What's it going to take for you guys to be state champions?
We're going to have to play hard, low, quick, and hard. Everyone does their job and stop the outside run, deep pass, the bread and butter.
And, what do you, if I'm trying to think of the right way to word this, I guess, but just, for you guys to go down in school history like this, win or lose, how awesome is that going to be?
It's going to be awesome. Not very many good Staples football teams in the history, and it's just amazing to be one of the better ones. And we worked hard for it.
What do you think, what I guess is your message to the community? How much have they meant to you guys, parents, teachers, other students, just community members? How much has this ride been fun for everybody?
It's been great. Talk to so many people from the community wherever I go. If I'm wearing football merch, they'll want to talk about football, and it just means a lot to me.
All right, awesome. Best of luck. Thank you. First of all, Prep Bowl, how excited are you?
It's pretty exciting. Only what we've dreamed of and what we've worked for the past 2 years, going 0-9 2 years ago to state finals is pretty amazing.
I know you guys had some high expectations coming into this season, but now that it's hit you guys that you're going to go play in a Prep Bowl, do you think that this could happen?
I think we all believed that it could happen. We knew that we needed to work hard and stay consistent throughout the season, but I think we all believed that if we stayed the course, we'd be here in the end.
Getting to play at US Bank Stadium, how cool was that last week?
It was an experience. I'm just looking forward to watching the Vikings again when they play at home and knowing that I've played there before. It's a pretty cool experience.
Was there a moment during the game where you just kind of took everything and looked around and were like, this place is huge?
When you first walk in there and you see it, and you just kind of soak it all in that we're playing here and it's a big stadium.
Getting that win, what moment did it hit you that you guys were going to a Prep Bowl?
When we took the knee in the last play and then the game was over and we all ran to the crowd, it was like, we're here, we did it.
And in that game against Chatfield, just what were some of the things that you guys thought your team did really well and that make you guys capable of winning a state championship?
Our offense was unstoppable. We were passing all over them with good pass pro and great execution by our quarterback and good hands by our receivers, and just scoring those touchdowns, keeping the lead.
And, you guys, like you talked about, that pass protection was a really big part of that win. And just on the lines, what do you think the lines did well that helped that?
We worked on it in individual throughout the course of the week in practice, and we stayed consistent and we had our game plan figured out.
And now as you guys get ready for the Prep Bowl, just what do you know about Jackson County Central? What's it going to take for you guys to be state champions?
We'll have to play tough, stop their deep pass and outside run. And I think if our offense plays like we have all season, we'll win.
And, last question for you here. It's the first time since 1988 Staples-Motley has made a Prep Bowl. How does it feel, win or lose? You guys are going to go down in school history. Do you guys think about that, or just how cool is that?
Yeah, it's part of the experience. It's what makes it so special, really. School history, and I know just looking back at all the pictures in the hallways of the state, you always think of that, and that'll be us from other kids' perspectives in a few years now.
All right, Adlai, one last question. How great has the community support been for all this? How great is the parents, fans, other students? How awesome?
It's crazy. You just get thank yous left and right from anybody and everybody, and the amount of people that show up to the games really, really helps.
All right, best of luck. Thank you. Welcome back to the Morning Sports Desk State Tournament Preview Special for the Staples-Motley Cardinals Prep Bowl Edition. I'm CJ Baumgartner. Corey Tackman's here. If you're watching online, the guy in the middle is Dan Condon of the Jackson County Pilot. He's the sports editor there. He's joining us on the Morning Sports Desk. Hey, Dan, thanks for taking the time to come talk with us.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for having me.
A lot of stuff going on with Jackson County Central. Obviously, the team Staples-Motley is playing in the Prep Bowl. But for those Cardinal fans who are listening, or just people in central Minnesota who don't know a lot about Jackson County Central, first, where are you guys at? And just kind of what has this team been like all season long?
Yeah, we're down in the southwest corner of the state. We played, pretty a schedule this year wasn't real tough, kind of expected to go undefeated in the regular season, and they did, which, kind of helps get a lot of players, some playing time at the end of those games and build a lot of experience and depth, which was kind of one of the goals going into the year. But yeah, they kind of rolled through the regular season, put up 60 points 4 times. The defense gave up, 6 points, maybe a game in the regular season. So kind of did what was expected of them. And then, kind of the same in the section tournament, kind of rolled through the competition there too. And the goal all year has been to get to the state tournament and to win it. And so, now they're in a position where that's a real possibility.
The goal all year, but kind of it's become the goal kind of the decade, it seems like, for Jackson County Central football. They've got something special brewing there, don't they?
Yeah, it's been, the same coaching staff for a lot of years now. And they just go into the season expecting that the state tournament is a real possibility. And so last year they were in the state semifinals and, had a chance to win that game. And then, the quarterback Roman Voss got hurt in that one. The year before we're in the state semifinals too. So it's kind of been building, the last few years to get to this point. And, but that's the expectation just about every year is they're going to at least compete to get to the state tournament. When they get there, you got a chance to do some pretty good things.
Yeah. You have a preview article up on the Jackson County Pilot that we had a chance to kind of read through before we got going in this one. You mentioned that they're in the Prep Bowl for the 5th time and their first time since 2015. They won the state championship in 2001. They've had some appearances in 97 and 98. But for both Jackson County Central and Staples-Motley, these are two teams that are looking to kind of get that championship back for the first time in a long time. What's the buzz been around town for this Jackson County Central team, and how confident are they coming into this Prep Bowl game?
Yeah, everyone's excited. These small towns just rally around these teams. It's the same way with wrestling and boys basketball last year. We're at state. And so it's a big deal for these towns. There's a all-school pep fest tomorrow morning before the team leaves. So everyone's pretty fired up. And I think they're confident. I think a few question marks maybe last week going into the semifinal game against Kimball with, the injuries and things like that. And a lot of them were answered. So I think now, a lot of confidence going into this game.
All right, I want to talk about that. Let's just get the elephant out of the room here very quickly with that injury with quarterback Roman Voss. You mentioned he got hurt a year ago. The poor kid has just been unlucky at these end of the season, but not just a really nice football player, an incredible football player. He's one of the top recruits in the state, big quarterback, someone special on that Jackson County Central football team. First of all, tell us about Roman. Tell us about what he means to the team, but then the transition in the state tournament to having to put a new guy under center.
Yeah, he started as a quarterback as an 8th grader, so he's been around forever. The team, a lot of talent around him, but he's the guy on the team. He's recruited at the Division I level for a reason.
Yeah.
So he can do everything. He can throw the ball, he can run, he's fast, he runs through people, he runs around people. So the offense kind of ran through him a little bit, but they've got some talented running backs too and some really good receivers. And so when he went down, obviously there is a transition because he runs the ball so much and he runs it well. And so, it took a little adjustment in the second half of that quarterfinal game or the first half of that quarterfinal game after he got hurt. But in that second half, they started to roll. And so, I think the offense has kind of rallied around him. And they, after last year, what happened, they kind of want to, prove that they can get the job done even without him. And so it's crazy. The quarterback that plays now switched to that position right before the section finals and had never played varsity football before. He's a senior, first year out.
Yeah.
And so it's just an incredible story what he's been able to do. And to go into that game, his first start was at US Bank Stadium and looked calm. First 2 drives, drove down for touchdowns. And so, it's just amazing what he's been able to do and how, all the talent around him has kind of picked things up too. And they've been able to keep on ticking.
Yeah, and with bringing in a guy like that who has his first start at quarterback at US Bank Stadium, which is just crazy. What was it in that Kimball area game where they won that made things work? Did they really not pass at all? Did they lean into the pass? Kind of what was the thing that made that offense work for Jackson County Central against a good Kimball area team?
Well, they still ran the ball. They used the running backs more than they did during the regular season. Without Roman being able to carry the ball. But they relied on their line. Their line, I think they were confident that they'd be able to make holes. And, they've got some really fast running backs too, where you get them in open space and they can make big plays. And we saw that a few times. We've got a wide receiver, Ben Darlene, who's just incredibly fast. He was at state track meet last year, been there a couple times. And so, you get him in open space on that turf. He had a 53-yard touchdown run last week. He returned a punt for a touchdown the week before. So, it's a lot of the same things where they're still trying to run the ball. And then, you mix in the pass. I think Grant was 7 for 11 passing. So he did a really good job too, where, they want to run the ball and throw it when they want to, instead of having to, being forced to throw the ball. And so I think, that's kind of the plan. And that hasn't changed a whole lot since Grant took over.
So with the Huskies, what's the mantra? What do they kind of hang their hat on? Is it ground and pound offensively? Is it we're gonna grind you to dust on the defensive end? Is it all the cliches, win it in the trenches? What's kind of what's the MO, I guess, of this Huskies team? Knowing obviously when you lose a player like Voss, it has to change maybe a little bit.
A little bit. Defensively, it stays the same though, where they've dominated on defense all year. Their front 4 has been really good. They've got 2 or 3 really good defensive ends that kind of mix in, really good D tackles. And so that's been the key. They start up front, put pressure on the quarterback. And when you play with the lead as much as they have, you got to pressure the quarterback because they're going to start throwing a lot. And they've done that really well. Their linebackers are really good. They had another injury in the quarterfinals where a receiver, he plays cornerback too. He got hurt too, so they're without him. But they've really kind of picked it up, and it all starts with that defense. They're giving up, 7-8 points a game, I think it is, all season. And so it starts there, and then obviously on offense without Roman, it's still trying to run the ball, trying to win in the trenches, like you said. And so, it hasn't changed a ton. It's just obviously different players, and some other guys need to step up a little bit, and so far they have.
Yeah, you mentioned just kind of the line play and how important that's been for Staples-Motley. It's been important for them as well. Obviously, we've talked about some of the different sports that these kids are in, and obviously Staples-Motley has gotten their wrestling program in a really good spot the last few years. Jackson County Central has had a couple wrestlers as well, and I believe that they faced one of the wrestlers for Jackson County Central faced off against Colby Tappy in the state wrestling tournament, correct?
Yeah, a couple of years ago, Thomas Frecking, they faced off in the championship. I think Tappy had beat him earlier in the year, and Thomas won I think it was a 4-3 decision in the championship. So we've kind of known about him for a little while through wrestling, and he was in the finals. You figure he was maybe a junior, senior at the time, and you look, and he's still just a junior now. So that's kind of a big deal with wrestling and football. They go hand in hand together so well that you look at the Final Four here. Kimball area is really good at wrestling, and so it's just kind of those linebackers, those running backs, those tough guys, play both sports, and it kind of shows that there's a lot of success in both programs and both sports.
As the season has gone along, is there a particular storyline that has stood out for this football team? Something behind the scenes that maybe, doesn't make the football field, something in the school, something with the kids, something in the coaches? What's something that's happening in the Jackson County Central community that is a storyline, a thread into this prep bowl?
I don't know. I think, everything's kind of been building for this team toward this point, but we found out last week in the post-game interview, the head coach, Tom Schuler, was talking about his granddaughter grew a lucky watermelon. So that's kind of been a big story the last week or so. She brought it to the cities for the game last week. And he said how it's gotten pretty beat up, just like the starting lineup here, but it's still, it's still there. It's still going strong. And so that's kind of been something that's been pretty funny this last week. Tom, he's always got stories like that where he's a hoot to listen to. He's really fun to interview. And so, for him to bring up something like that after a state semifinal game is, just on par for him. But that's kind of been pretty neat, that this lucky watermelon that his granddaughter grew that, is kind of hanging in there just like this team is.
Yeah, Staples-Motley has been talking about doing a whiteout for their fans. And on the other side, we have a watermelon. That's the beauty of some of these state tournament games and the storylines, because there's always a little bit of superstition that comes when you get this far, which is really fun to see. Dan, what do you know about Staples-Motley? And, from what you've kind of gathered from talking with the coaching staff and the players all week long for Jackson County Central, for Jackson County Central to come away with a prep bowl win, what likely has to happen, knowing what you guys know about Staples-Motley?
The main thing Tom told me was you got to stop Tappy. He can run the ball, and, the passing game is really good too. So you can't just focus on one thing, but he said Tappy is kind of the main priority, is slow him down. And then, you got to get pressure on the quarterback because, we saw last week he's an accurate thrower, real good receivers too. So, a balanced offense, which is tough to stop. But, I think this defense is going to be up for the task. And I think they're confident that they can, at least slow him down enough and hopefully put enough points on the board. But yeah, it sounds like it starts with Tappy, and, a huge game last week, huge game the week before. So obviously, he kind of jumps out on film as the guy to stop. But he also talked about, the line is tough and, a good linebacker, I think Birga
yes.
Okay. And so, a lot of talent, which, you expect at this point, and, you hope that you match up well and can do the things you work on this week in practice, and hopefully it shows up in the game.
It's funny, isn't it, how when you talk to coaches at the beginning of the season, they say, it's early. If we can just limit our turnovers, limit big plays, if we can just control the things we can control, we'll be okay. And then you get to the prep bowl, and that's the only answer again.
Yeah, well, and last week we got 2 turnovers right at the end of the game, which, you figured you probably need to get a few. And they came at the end when the Huskies came back and won that game. And so he said, if we get 2 turnovers again, that's kind of the goal, is get a few takeaways and then, control the game a little bit with your own run game. And, it's all the cliches that you hear all year, and you get to the biggest game of the year and nothing changes.
US Bank Stadium. It's going to be a fun one on Friday. Dan Condon, sports editor at Jackson County Pilot, who's been covering the team all season long. Dan, I guess, is there anything that you want to know about from Staples-Motley football? It seems like you have a pretty good beat, but we've kind of been keeping an eye on this team all season long. Any questions you have for us about Staples-Motley?
Well, the thing that jumps out is 0-9 2 years ago. Is it the same guys that have just been building to this point, or how do you go from that to the Prep Bowl?
Yeah, I mean, essentially, the big crux of this team were freshmen and sophomores 2 seasons ago. They're juniors and seniors this year, and it's a group of kids that, much like you made it sound like with the Huskies team, people have been excited about this group of kids coming through their respective programs for a long time. You got a good group of athletes. They're kids of parents who were good athletes when they were in high school. There's just an expectation, and as you know, high school kids who can walk into any room with when they have that expectation on themselves, they carry it with a little extra confidence, and it seems to be in the little that we've gotten to know these kids over the last, going back to that 0-9 season, they have never doubted themselves in that entire process, and they went from mommy and daddy needing to pick them up from practice because they're freshmen and can't drive yet to, you turn into grown men and throughout your high school years, and it's been fun to watch them grow that way.
Yeah, and it was a team that, like you talked about, started out 0-9 a couple seasons ago. It was a lot of those same kids, and sometimes I think with a program like that, it's real easy as those freshmen and sophomores to go, okay, football's not the sport. Let me focus on the other thing. Let me do the other thing. It was Coach Potter's first year, who's the head coach at Staples-Motley. It was his first year that season as well, and that team, they took their lumps and then they kind of used it as a way to grow together. They got motivated, going to the weight room, doing all the stuff they needed to do. It's really just kind of the Cinderella story aspect of they just did everything they needed to do behind the scenes. They kept their confidence up, and they got rewarded last year by kind of outperforming, or maybe not to them, but to everybody else. They jumped out onto the page, made a section championship game, played a really good Osakas team a year ago, but they played really well a year ago, and all of a sudden they came into this year with confidence. I don't know if they thought prep bowl, but they definitely thought that they could make the state tournament, and they did, and now the rest has just kind of been history.
Yeah, and state wrestling tournament last year, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
it's kind of, you get that big
Chatfield. That's who they lost to in the state
a
year ago. So
yeah,
the wrestling connections just keep rolling.
Yeah, and you get that experience in big games, whether it's a different sport or not. You can build confidence. You've been there before, and so yeah, confidence is a huge thing where you enter the year thinking you can do it, and you start getting on a roll, and sure enough, there you are in the last game of the year.
Dan Condon, Jackson County Pilot sports editor. Corey, any other questions we have for Dan while we got him here?
No, that was awesome. Thanks for your time. We really appreciate it. That was cool.
Yeah, thank you.